Okay. All right, here we go. We are back on track. Sorry about that little blip in the ending. I hope you guys can hop back on here and we'll be ready to go. All right, there we go. Okay, like I said, we are going to learn some coloring tonight with a different way, not using regular coloring tools. So, first off, let me show you a couple of cards that I did using the sunflower and my Stampin' Blends. Now, I love using Stampin' Blends. Some of my customers have a hard time using these. And I've got some videos, and if that's something that maybe you'd like to see in one of my lives, we can do that as well. But tonight, look at these cards. Here is one right here where I use the sunflower, and here is another one that I use the sunflower. I just think these are so gorgeous. Now, even though I'm going to be showing you this using a sunflower, this technique would work great for using fall leaves. You could even use Christmas trees and use different colors of green. So just use your imagination, but I think you're just going to love this. I'm so excited about this technique. So what I have here, well, first off, let me show you. You may not know this stamp set that I'm going to use. It celebrates sunflowers, and it has some coordinating dies. Let's see, Miss Maria. You're not comfortable using the blends techniques. Well, girlfriend, I'm going to tell you, this technique that I show you tonight, you are going to be able to do it. I promise. So, what I'm going to do, I've got a plain old piece of cardboard. This actually is out of Paper Pumpkin, and I've got a piece of shimmer white cardstock, and I just use masking tape to keep it down here. And the reason, we're going to be using a lot of water, and I don't want it to warp. So that is what this is. So let me bring in, this is just a plain old block, acrylic block. And I have chosen 5 different Stampin' ink refills. I've got Cajun Craze, and I've got Bumblebee, and you can see I've got ink all over here. Well, I'll clean that off later. No worries. And I've got Mango Melody, and I've got Pumpkin Pie, and I've got Cinnamon Cider. I'm using 5 different ones. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start, and I'm going to put just little drops here on my block. So we're going to start with Bumblebee. So I'm going to just put a little bit of ink right there, maybe just a little bit more. And then I'm going to put this ink refill right there, so I'll know that that's the one that's in the middle. Now I'm going to take my pumpkin pie, and I'm going to put a little blob right there. And then I'm going to put my pumpkin pie ink refill right there. Then I'm going to use Cajun Craze. I'm going to put a little bit right there. Set my bottle there so I know which is which. My Mango Melody is going to go right here. and then my cinnamon cider. And I'm just doing that so I can keep them in order, so I know what I've got where, because as you can see, well, I hope you can see, they kind of look the same when you put them on this block, and you might not be able to tell them apart. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I have got my water pen here, and I've got just a little container of water where I'm going to be cleaning my brush, and I've just got a paper towel. So I'm going to just squeeze and get my ink flowing, and then I'm just going to start putting a drop or two in the middle of these little puddles of ink. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay, now then, that part is ready. Now I'm going to bring back in, and we're going to have to move up these re-inkers because I want you to be able to see here what I'm doing on my paper. Okay, let's see. I think we got it now. There. Okay, so I'm going to take my Stampin' Spritzer, and I'm going to spray all over my shimmer white paper. And the reason I use the shimmer white paper is it is a little bit more absorbent than just the basic white. I'm going to try this at some point with the watercolor paper and see if that works as well. So for now, let me just, I'm going to spritz this. And I just want to say a quick hello to everybody who jumped in the middle. All right, now you want to get this paper very wet. You want to have no dry spots on it. So we're just going to make sure we get it here. So it's going to be totally saturated. Okay, let me just, there we go. Get it going a little more. Okay, I think I've got enough. Now, I'm going to take my ink, and again, I'm going to move it over here so you can see it. And I'm not going to worry about the colors because tonight it's all about technique. So I'm going to start with this color here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that, and I'm just going to touch it right here on my paper. Okay, can you see how that's kind of spreading around? All right. Now I'm going to just clean it off in my water, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to pick up some of this ink right here, which was the pumpkin pie. And we're just going to drop that on the paper. Look at that. Isn't that pretty cool? All right, so I'm going to keep going. Then I've got my cinnamon cider here. And this, I probably didn't get as much water on that one as I did on the other ones, but you know, it really doesn't matter. I'll swish it around a little bit, and it's going to be just fine. All right, now let's go and let's pick up some of this Cajun craze. See how that's spreading? And sometimes, you know, you just swirl it around a little bit. Get those colors kind of where you want them. Okay, now I've got one more color here. The mango. All right, and then you can just keep adding color. So if you've missed some spots, you can just come around and add some more. You can kind of swish it around here. All right. Okay, I want to put a little bit more bumblebee here in the middle. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, so now the thing is, it would take this a while to dry. Now, you could, I'm going to swipe this off here so I don't get ink all over my project. You could dry this with your heat tool, or you could just set it aside to dry. So I'm going to just pick this up and move it, and I'm going to bring in one that I did earlier today. So this one is all dry. Doesn't that look cool? Now, starts the fun part. I'm going to take my sunflower and I'm going to ink it up with my black Memento ink. And don't go away, because I am going to show you something awesome with this ink later that I bet you don't know you can do. All right, so let's just get this image stamped on here. Look at that. Isn't that pretty cool? Now, I'm going to go over to my die cut machine and I'm going to cut this out so we can use it. And I will be right back. So I need to get it to where you see, you have to just kind of get it lined up to where everything matches. And I just wanted to show you how I do that. So see here how all of those match. So let me go cut it out. Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, that's enough Jeopardy song. I should have had some real background music playing to entertain you. All right. So here is my piece that I've cut out. Now we need to do a wow factor. So on this card right here, I don't know if you can tell, but it is very shiny. The way we do that is we're going to take my Versamark pad, and I have used, this one is very well loved. I am going to cover this whole sunflower with my Versamark, and I want to make sure I get it all over, all the way out to the edges. Then I'm going to take my crystal clear embossing powder, and I'm going to get that powder all over it. Make sure I get all the ends. Okay, tap it off. Then I'm going to put the lid back on that and on my Versamark. Now, I'm going to heat this up on camera, and I hope that you'll forgive me if it's a little noisy, but I want you to see the transformation that will take place right in front of your eyes as we heat this up. Let me get my bone folder here to kind of hold it in place. And here we go. The mistake people often make when they're embossing is they either burn it or they don't heat it long enough. Okay, here we go. Can you see this, how it's turning? I'm just going to keep going around here. Look at that. Wow. Isn't that amazing as these colors just become vibrant in front of your very eyes? Okay. Isn't that the coolest? So you can see, here's the regular one I did. Now, this one, I didn't put the embossing powder on it. I did, however, cover the whole thing in Wink of Stella. It might be a little hard for you to see that, but it is there. So, now, what I did ahead of time is I cut out some leaves to go on this. But I want to show you trick number 2 here. Okay, so I thought I had black embossing powder, and I couldn't find it. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Obviously, I don't have time to order from Stampin' Up. My person that we borrow and share back and forth lives 30 minutes from me. Okay, so that's not going to work. So what in the world am I going to do? So I have my memento pad, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Did you know you can emboss with your memento pad? Yes, indeedy, you can. Now, you have to do it very quickly. So, I'm going to have my embossing powder ready to go here. And I'm going to get my stamp ready. I'm going to stamp it on here, right in this corner. Thanks a bunch. Then I'm going to quickly get it here in my powder. Okay, so I've got my powder. Now, normally I would run like my embossing buddy or a Swiffer over it, but I didn't do that, but that's okay. You're still going to see the magic happen. So now I've got this here, and I'm going to go ahead and heat that up. Look at that. Okay, now, this part right here is the clear embossing that I didn't get off of there, but that's okay. Now, again, you won't be able to feel this, but this is all raised. So, that is just a little embossing trick that doesn't cost you any extra tonight. So then the way I would finish this card is I would just take some of my adhesive, and yes, I'm using snail because I've got that right here. Normally I would use my either my seal, or I would use this puppy right here, my liquid glue. I use that for everything. I like it because it's a little more forgiving, and if you make a mistake, then you can move it around and you're not going to rip your paper. Okay, so there is that, and I'm just going to grab some dimensionals here, and we'll put some of those right on here. I am very liberal when I use my dimensionals because I want to make sure that it pops up well. And you know, you can use these outer edges. I use up the whole dang piece of those. All right, let me get that off of there. And then we will just put this on here. And now what I would do, because I don't want to waste this card, I would come back in and I would just put another piece over this that I had stamped. I'd raise it up with my dimensionals, and then it would be good to go. So what do you think of that? Isn't that exciting? I hope you guys will try it and send me a picture of your cards that you made. I just love seeing what y'all do. Now, here is the one that I stamped earlier, and it's not quite dry, so I'm not going to stamp on it, but this is what I will use. All you'll do is you would just take this off, and it really doesn't matter that your masking tape was there, because when you go into stamp, there's plenty of border around there. So I hope that you like this technique. And let's see, I had a couple things to tell you. Oh, remember on August 30th, the live is going to be a little bit longer. We are going to be doing a Pick 6 Wonder class where I'm going to show you how to use just some sheets of designer series paper. I'm going to give you a template, and we're going to make Christmas cards together. And let's see, I think that's it for tonight. If you want to email me, you can email me at ann@stampmaven.com. If you like anything I showed you tonight, this is my Stampin' Up shopping site, and I have a blog, stampmaven.com, and you can go to there, see some projects. I have tutorials, videos on there. If you don't get my weekly newsletter, you can sign up there, and you'll get a free gift just for signing up. Alrighty then, I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.